Look, the lights are flickering in Wolfsburg, and I'm not talking about a power outage. I'm talking about the end of an era. Today, the 88-year legacy of Volkswagen faces its darkest hour. We are watching the BYD expansion reach a point of no return in Europe, and frankly, the timing could not be worse. While the Wolfsburg gates struggle under historic costs, you have got the Stellantis layoffs and the Tesla price wars creating a vacuum that only the East seems ready to fill. See, this is not just a bad quarter. This is not a dip in the chart. We are watching the slow-motion demolition of the European industrial cathedral. The closure of the Dresden plant, that is just the first domino. You have Ford abandoning entry-level segments. You have Stellantis suspending production in Poland. This creates what we call a death zone for European manufacturing. And guess who is setting up camp right in that graveyard? Xiaomi and BYD, with localized factories in Hungary and Turkey. They are not just visiting, they are moving in. They're unpacking their bags in the guest bedroom and changing the locks. Before we dissect the autopsy of this industrial giant, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. We follow the money trail where others just read the headlines. Click that button so you do not miss the next shift in the market. Now, let's look at the math, because the math is brutal. Volkswagen launched a 10 billion euro cost-cutting campaign. Sounds massive, right? 10 billion. It is a huge number, but when you look at the balance sheet, it is like trying to stop a tsunami with a sandbag. They pushed for 10% wage cuts. But here's the reality: even if every worker in Wolfsburg worked for free, the production cost structure still cannot compete with the vertical integration of the BYD Dolphin. We are talking about a structural price disparity that no amount of austerity can fix. It is an efficiency, not just a salary dispute. Think about the energy costs alone. German industry was built on two pillars: cheap Russian gas and unlimited Chinese demand. Both of those pillars are gone, shattered. So now you are making cars with expensive energy, expensive labor, and complicated supply chains. Meanwhile, BYD, they own the mine, they own the battery plant, they own the chip manufacturer, they own the ship that brings the car to Europe. They even own the insurance company in some markets. That is vertical integration. Volkswagen is buying parts from Bosch, Continental, and 100 other suppliers, each taking a margin. BYD is just moving money from its left pocket to its right pocket. So when Volkswagen says they need to cut costs, they are trimming the... But BYD is a different species entirely. Let's dig deeper into this trimming the narrative, because it hides a much uglier truth about legacy corporate structures. You see, Volkswagen is not just a company, it is a political institution. The state of Lower Saxony owns 20% of the voting rights. The unions, specifically IG Metall, hold half the seats on the supervisory board. Do you understand what that means for strategy? It means you cannot just pivot. You cannot just wake up one morning, look at the Excel sheet, and say, okay, we are closing 3 plants to save the margin. In a normal company, capital flows where it is treated best. In Wolfsburg, capital flows where the politics allow it to flow. Every time the CEO wants to make a hard decision, he has to negotiate a peace treaty with the Works Council. It is decision-making by committee in a market that demands the speed of a dictator. Compare that to the decision loop in Shenzhen. When Wang Chuanfu, the founder of BYD, decides to switch battery chemistry from NMC to LFP, it happens. The engineers execute. The supply chain adjusts. There's no 6-month negotiation period with a union representative about how this affects the pension fund. This speed creates what we call compounding velocity. Over 5 years, BYD makes 50 critical iterations. Volkswagen makes 5. That is not linear, it is exponential. And look at the supply chain again. I mentioned Bosch and Continental. These are legendary German companies. But here's the trap. When Volkswagen builds an ID.4, they are essentially an integrator. They buy the brakes from company A, the steering column from company B, the infotainment unit from company C. Each of those companies needs to make a profit. They have their own overhead, their own logistics, their own CEOs playing golf. This is called margin stacking. By the time all those parts arrive at the assembly line in Zwickau, the cost basis is already bloated. BYD does not have this problem to the same extent. They make the seat foam, they make the semiconductor chips, they make the battery cells. They eliminate the middleman because they are the middleman. They have captured the entire value chain. When you control the mine, you control the destiny of the final price tag. Volkswagen is at the mercy of the market price for lithium. BYD is the market price. Now, let's look at the flip side. The power dynamic has completely inverted. For decades, China was the cash cow. If you were a German executive, you looked at the sales charts in Shanghai and you slept like a baby. It was easy money. You sold the badge, you sold the status. The Volkswagen Santana was the icon of the Chinese economic miracle. It was the taxi, the police car, the politician's ride. It was the symbol that you had made it. But symbols fade. Look at the numbers now. Volkswagen reports an 8.4% delivery drop in China, their single most important market. That is a hemorrhage. And while they are bleeding out, BYD is not slowing down. They have a target of 1.5 million overseas sales for 2026. Think about that number, 1.5 million cars. That is not just export, that is colonization of the market share. The flow of cars used to go west to east. Now the ships are full coming the other way. And the German ports, they are turning into parking lots for unsold inventory. I have seen the satellite images. Bremerhaven is clogged. Zeebrugge is overflowing. These cars are sitting there because the demand has shifted. Now let's talk about why those ports are full. It is not just about price. It is about a fundamental misunderstanding of the modern consumer. The European dealerships are operating on a push model. The factory builds the cars to keep the lights on and the workers paid, and then they push them to the dealers. The dealers have to take them, so you end up with acres of metal sitting in the rain, depreciating. This is capital tied up in rust. In finance, we call this working capital inefficiency. Every day that car sits in Bremerhaven, it costs money. Insurance, storage fees, the cost of capital. Volkswagen is paying interest on loans to build cars that are just sitting there. It is a cash flow nightmare. Meanwhile, the Chinese brands are operating much closer to a pull model, especially with their tech-focused approach. They are testing the market, bringing in batches, and selling them often directly or through hybrid agency models that cut out the traditional dealer markup. The European consumer is looking at their wallet. Inflation is biting, interest rates are high. The Euribor is not what it used to be. A car loan today is expensive, and here comes a Chinese EV that looks good, drives well, has better software, and costs 20% less. It is not a hard choice for the average family. Brand loyalty is expensive, and right now, Europe cannot afford it. Historically, brand loyalty was the moat. You bought a VW Golf because your dad drove a VW Golf. It was safe, it was reliable, it held its value. But does an electric car hold its value? This is the elephant in the room. Used EV prices are crashing. Why? Because the tech moves too fast. A 3-year-old EV is like a 3-year-old iPhone. The battery is degraded, the processor is slow, and the new model is cheaper and better. This destroys the residual value argument that German luxury brands relied on. If a Mercedes or a VW loses 50% of its value in 2 years, the lease prices skyrocket. And if the lease prices skyrocket, nobody buys the new ones. It is a death spiral of value destruction. If you are enjoying this breakdown of the auto industry's crisis, double check that you are subscribed. We are tracking these geopolitical shifts every single week. Hit the like button if you want us to cover more about the Asian market expansion in Europe. And then there is the tech. This is where it gets really painful. Volkswagen is pivoting back to hybrids with their Agenda 2026. It feels safe. It feels prudent. They are looking at the slowing EV adoption rates in Europe and thinking, okay, let's keep the combustion engine alive a little longer. Let's refine the piston one last time. But while they are refining the combustion engine for one last run, look at what Huawei and Xiaomi are doing. They have redefined the car. It is no longer a machine that has a computer. It is a computer that has wheels. They are treating the vehicle as a software-first entity. See, in Germany, the engineer is king, the guy who designs the door, hinged to close with that satisfying thud. That is the hero. The panel is the religion. They obsess over whether between the hood and the fender is 3 millimeters or 3.5 millimeters, and that is admirable. It is beautiful engineering. But in Shenzhen, the hero is the guy coding the operating system. Volkswagen is fighting a hardware war in a software era. It is like bringing a knife to a drone fight. You look at the ID series software issues, delays, bugs, screens going black, that destroys confidence. Cariad, VW's software unit, was supposed to be the savior. Instead, it became a money pit, burning billions and delaying the launch of the Porsche Macan EV and the Audi Q6 e-tron. Why did Cariad fail? Because you cannot build a software company inside a hardware bureaucracy. It is a culture clash. Software needs agility, fail-fast mentalities, and constant updates. Automotive legacy culture is about SOP, start of production, and freezing the specs 3 years in advance. Meanwhile, a Xiaomi car integrates with your phone, your home, your fridge, your life. It is an ecosystem play. When you sit in a Xiaomi SU7, your phone apps are already on the screen. The car knows your schedule. It turns on your house lights when you pull into the driveway. It is seamless. Volkswagen is trying to sell you a better horse. The Chinese are selling you a teleporter. Think about the software-defined vehicle. In the future, the profit will not come from selling the metal. The profit will come from the subscription services, the autonomous driving features, the entertainment packages. If your software architecture is a mess of spaghetti code from 50 different suppliers, which is the case for most legacy auto, you cannot monetize that. You are stuck selling hardware with thinning margins. Tesla proved this. Tesla's valuation is not based on how many cars they sell, it is based on the promise of software margins. BYD and Xiaomi understand this. Volkswagen is still trying to figure out how to do over-the-air updates without bricking the car. And we have to talk about the political angle. The European Union is trying to put up tariffs. They are building a wall. But tariffs are a band-aid on a bullet wound. The EU Commission thinks that slapping a 20 or 30% duty on Chinese imports will save the German worker. It is a naive calculation. History teaches us that protectionism creates laziness. If you protect your domestic industry from competition, they do not get better, they get complacent. They raise prices because they can. But here is the strategic masterstroke from the East. BYD knows this. That is why they are building in Hungary. That is why they are looking at Turkey. The localized production in Hungary is the checkmate. It bypasses the tariffs. It bypasses the logistics costs. It puts them inside the fortress. Once that factory is online, a BYD Seagull or a Seal is legally a European car. It flows freely across the borders. Viktor Orban in Hungary has played a very specific game. He has positioned Hungary as the assembly shop for the East within the West. He welcomed Kia TL, the battery giant. He welcomed BYD. He is creating a cluster. And in the auto industry, clusters are everything. Once you have the battery plant next to the assembly plant next to the motor plant, the efficiency gains are unstoppable. Germany is losing its cluster advantage because energy is too expensive. Hungary is gaining it because they are offering tax breaks, cheap land, and a red carpet for Chinese capital. So the tariff wall is Maginot Line thinking. The French built the Maginot Line to stop the Germans in World War II, and the Germans just drove around it through Belgium. The tariffs are the Maginot Line. Hungary is Belgium. The Chinese are just driving around the wall. So where does this leave us? We are not just witnessing a sales slump. This is the structural replacement of the European industrial base. The inertia of Wolfsburg, with its unions, its legacy costs, and its political weight, simply cannot pivot fast enough to dodge the precision strike coming from Shenzhen. You cannot turn an ocean liner around on a dime, especially when the iceberg is moving towards you at 100 miles per hour. And let's be real about the German quality myth. For 50 years, made in Germany meant superior. But in the EV world, the drivetrain is simpler. An electric motor has one moving part. A combustion engine has hundreds. The complexity, the place where German engineering shined, is gone. The differentiation is now in the battery chemistry and the software stack. Germany does not lead in either of those. The tragic part? Volkswagen makes great cars. Mechanically, they are brilliant. The chassis tuning of a Golf is still the benchmark. The way the door closes is still satisfying. But the market has moved on from mechanics to electronics, from prestige to value, from hardware to software. The localized production in Hungary is the final nail. It neutralizes the only advantage Europe had left, which was protectionism. We are looking at a scenario where Volkswagen could become a regional player, shrinking to fit a smaller market, shedding brands, closing factories. The idea of them remaining the number one or number two global player is slipping away. They might survive, sure, but they will not be the titan they were. They will be smaller, leaner, and perhaps owned in part by foreign capital. Now, I have to ask you, is your next car still going to be German? Or has the pattern match of the Nokia collapse already begun, and we are just waiting for the final earnings call to confirm it? Remember Nokia? They had the best hardware. You could drop a Nokia 3310 from a building, and it would survive. They had great battery life, they had the market share, but they missed the platform shift. They thought people wanted phones to make calls. Apple realized people wanted pocket computers. Volkswagen thinks people want cars to drive. China realizes people want mobile living rooms. Let me know in the comments. I really want to know if you trust the legacy brands to turn this around. Or are you eyeing a BYD, a Zeekr, or a Xiaomi? And do not forget, like this video and subscribe for more strategy analysis. See you in the next one.